So now I want to play something for you that is shocking. It's Obama gave a speech that was closed, of course, to the public in his fashion of the secret centralized government that he's running, to the Wall Street Journal, a big supporter of Obama. As you well know, what you don't understand is what the connection is between socialism and capitalism, and how there's actually a confluence of the two isms at the highest levels. And I want you to listen to this disingenuous statement in clip 1.
I would distinguish between the rhetoric and the tactics versus the ideological differences. I mean, in most countries, you've got, people call me a socialist sometimes, but no, you got to meet real socialists. You'll have a sense of what a socialist is.
Well, my friends, I know what a socialist is. I've written about it. He's a socialist. Let me give you an example of why the president is lying. He's so clever at what he does that the yes man who invited him to speak at the Wall Street Journal giggled like we're all crazy for calling him a socialist. So let's go to none other than the Merriam-Webster dictionary and look up together, as you might have done in high school, what socialized medicine is, for example. Medical and hospital services administered by an organized group and paid for by funds obtained, usually by assessments, taxation, or philanthropy. Well, I would say that's a loose definition of Obamacare. Now, if you read the classical definition of socialism in Merriam-Webster, it says a theory of social organization based on government ownership, management, or control of the means of production and the distribution and exchange of goods. So in classical 100% socialism, that is true. The government owns the businesses, as is going on in some of the South American banana republics, where they're seizing what was once private enterprise. That is classic gangster socialism of the type practiced today probably only in Cuba and North Korea, maybe a few other places that I'm not familiar with. That's gangster socialism of the type that has destroyed societies and people for well over 100 years. But if you look at China's socialism, what you find is something different. The government doesn't own, manage, and control production and distribution of goods. They have opened up the markets to free markets in China. What the government does is control the people through a centralized power structure. The people live in a prison camp, basically, in China. So they have more freedom in terms of their commerce than we do. I don't know if you know that. I know people who have gone and work in China and own businesses there. They have the equivalent of a Wild West. They have what's called a free market economy in China. We don't. And then you could also argue, for example, that Obama's socialist government does, in fact, if it doesn't own the businesses that you run, it certainly manages and controls your means of production and your means of distribution and exchange of goods through the onerous regulations that the Lilliputians called bureaucrats impose upon us. But I don't want to get stuck on that. No, Obama's not really a socialist in that regard. He's worse than a European socialist today. Why? Because he runs a secretive, centralized government. European socialists today could never get away with his crimes against the American people. You see, in Europe, they are not hamstrung with white guilt. You see, in Europe, they're not hamstrung with a two-party system where there's no democracy whatsoever. You see, in Europe, many of the countries have parliamentary systems of government, which give the people numerous political parties to choose from, and, most importantly, an opportunity to dismiss a rogue, corrupt, incompetent regime. I will say no more.